Hi, welcome to Losing Faith, Finding Spirit. Today I want to talk about how narcissists treat boundaries as a challenge. I'm reminded of the show How I Met Your Mother and Barney on that show, played by Neil Patrick Harris. And he used to say, "Challenge accepted!" And that's what narcissists feel. Toxic, abusive people feel anytime you set a boundary. Challenge accepted! So you set a boundary. It doesn't matter what your boundary is, doesn't matter why you set it, doesn't matter what's going on. The important thing to the narcissist is controlling and manipulating you. And so in order to get you to remove the boundary, they will do whatever they can. Because they feel powerful. They get narcissistic supply. They get power. They get control. They get a rise from controlling you and manipulating you. And they can get you to lower your boundaries, remove your boundaries, change a decision that you made. That gives them power. And that's what they need. They need that. So what happens? Let me give you an example of a boundary. So let me say, when going through the divorce, I expressed to my ex that I wasn't going to talk on the phone anymore. He called me, we were talking on the phone about something, and it turned into an argument. It turned into the same pattern as before, and I just hung up. And I let him know via text that I'm not going to communicate via the phone, on the phone anymore. Please send everything in writing. And he pushed it. He kept trying to call, and I just wouldn't respond to his phone calls. You can block somebody, it doesn't matter. You can block your own spouse, it doesn't matter. You are allowed to block people, no matter what their relationship is to you. If they are causing you harm, you can block them. You have a right to live in a peace and a joyful life. You don't need other people to tear you down. I'm giving you that permission. My therapist told me that, and that was the most amazing, free thought I ever had. Because I thought, you're married, you have to be one person, so there's no boundaries. There's no, there's enmeshment and codependency, which is what I grew up in. So obviously I was just repeating those same patterns. We've talked about that before on this channel. So he called, I didn't answer. Then he sent text message and being like, "Are you really for real? Is this forever? Is this blah, 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 blah?" And then he descended into name calling and it's the same patterns that I'm used to. Message after message after message, email after email after email. And it used to be that I could almost set a timer on it. Every Tuesday night and Wednesday night, I would get a bunch of emails. As I stood by my boundary and I didn't give in, that's since stopped. It's lessened. It is no longer every Tuesday. It's no longer every Wednesday. I no longer have to deal with a bunch of stuff. I've also gotten a little bit relaxed. I don't talk on the phone with him. That is still a set boundary. I don't do that. It's for my sanity. I don't need to hear his voice next to my ear. I don't need to hear him trying to manipulate, because that's the thing. For him, if he could just get me to talk with him, that's all he needed to be able to get me back on that same pattern. So I don't refuse. I don't do it. And I'd rather have everything in writing so that if he tries to pull we didn't agree to that, which he's another classic thing, gaslighting, I can point to an email and be like, "We agreed to it on this day in this email, here you go." If he wants to bring it to a judge, there you go. I've got proof. It's important for me to have that, especially now that we're officially divorced and we're trying to, parallel parent with our child. So that's an important boundary to me. And I will also say, don't tell them your boundaries. There are lots of boundaries that I have with my family and with my ex that I just don't say. There are certain boundaries that I've placed that don't need to be expressed. I know, because as soon as I express that boundary to my ex, I know he will challenge it. If he knows there's a boundary, he will challenge it. In fact, he even sent an email one time saying, "Oh, I can tell that you're trying to put a boundary on this, but I'm not okay with it, and I'm going to say this, that, and that." He wanted to be able to just video chat whenever, whatever, show up, pick up our kid whenever. And I said, "No, you need to, according to our agreement, you need to let me know on Mondays before this day at this time in writing. That is in our parenting plan. I can tell you're putting a boundary on this. I'm not okay with that. It's not going to work for me. I need to be able to have, whatever. No. That's not. And I didn't respond to that email that he sent trying to challenge my boundary. I just didn't respond because there was nothing to respond to. And I didn't say, hey, this is a boundary. The fact that he pointed that out says a lot about him, right? Even throughout the marriage, there was times where I would have a very strong opinion about something. Like, I don't want our child spending the night at that person's house because they are unsafe. I don't feel like it's safe to have our child spend the night there. He would argue with me. And I'm like, our child can spend the night at these are the 5 people that are okay for our child to spend the night with. No, that's not good enough. It has to be this one person. I'm like, I've said no. That's the one person I've said no. And I've given you 5 other people. What? Like, it's not about compromise. It's not about the child spending the night. It's about the fact that I have a boundary. I said no. And that's not good enough. They want to control that. So if you're experiencing this, it's very common. It is extremely common in narcissistic abuse. It's extremely common in emotional abuse. Toxic people do not respect your boundaries. If they can't respect your no, they don't deserve your yes. So I just want to remind you, boundaries are incredibly important because the more you give up on your boundaries, the more power you give away, the more resentment builds in your heart and in your soul. And that will come out in other areas. It might come out on your kids. It might come out on your friends. It may come out on your family. It may come out just burnout at work. It may come out in other ways. It will stress you out. You don't deserve that. You don't need that. It's hard if you come from a codependent past. It's hard if you have childhood trauma to set boundaries, because if you were like me, there were no boundaries in your childhood. If you were like me, you were treated as a property. There was no privacy. There was no you and your parents. You were all connected, and basically your parents' emotions were the only thing that mattered, and you didn't. It's hard. Boundary setting is hard. It's hard to say no when you grow up being a people pleaser. When you grow up putting other people first. It's time to put yourself first. It's time to set some clear boundaries. It's time to figure it out. And the best way to figure out what your boundaries are, pay attention when you're angry. Pay attention at what gets you angry. Your anger is telling you that something's not right and that you care about it. I was so frustrated. I would get so upset when he would push for our child to spend the night at that one person's house that I expressed. This one person is no. These other people are yes. It wasn't about the spending the night. It was about the fact that I said no. But I wouldn't budge on that. Absolutely, to this day, I'm not budging on that. It doesn't matter what you say. I'm saying no. And I cannot tell you. And there was a time where he said, okay, I understand you seem very passionate. I'm not going to bring it up anymore. Friends, listeners, he brought it up in front of the people, in front of the person. Oh, she doesn't want our child to spend the night with you. Literally in front of them, after literally saying the night before that he was not going to bring it up again. He literally said it to their face with me present. I said, no, that's right. Nope, I don't care. That was when I was like, divorce button. I was carrying around a massive bag of reasons to divorce, and that filled it up really high. How dare you? I don't feel that our child is safe with this person. It doesn't matter why. I am the mom, and I am telling you our child will not be safe here. I was not safe there as a child. I don't want our child to go through any of those experiences. Whether I'm wrong or right, I don't care. I don't care if they've changed. That is not up to me. That I don't want to risk it. It is not a risk I'm willing to take with our child. No. Obviously, I'm still very passionate about that. Friends, it is hard. But I still said no. I said no in front of their faces, and I was like, I'm sorry. I'm not giving up on this. I don't care. And that's when he started telling me afterwards, like, I'm the head of this house and I need to be the hierarchy. And I'm like, look, if you're like, and that's when I was starting to actually see the patterns and realize that it wasn't about our child spending the night somewhere. It was about the fact that I said no. He didn't like my no. At the time, I kept trying to come up with excuses like, oh, he just really cares about this person. He just really had a good experience with a similar situation in his childhood. Like, maybe he just doesn't understand, but it didn't matter how many times we said it. And then when he said, I will never bring it up again, and then literally told them the next day to their face what was going on, I knew. First of all, there was liar. Liar. And then if I said, you said you weren't going to bring it up again. I never said that. Gaslighting. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. These relationships are not worth it. They're not worth your sanity. They're not worth your boundaries. What if I said yes and our child ended up doing the worst that I feared? And things ended up happening. What if I compromised? The worst things. No. No. When it comes to my child, I am not going to let that happen. I don't care. I don't care what your opinion is. I know what I experienced, and I'm not letting my child have that. I will let my child have a better life. Boundaries are so important. So listen to your anger. Your anger will tell you where to set a boundary. Sometimes your fear will tell you where to set a boundary too. In my case, I knew I had that fear in my heart, like this person's not a safe person because of what I experienced in my past. I'm not going to let my child. That was a fear. And no matter how many times he pushed it, just made me angry. And I knew I just wasn't going to let that one. That was not something that I was going to compromise on. No. Still to this day, no. Set your boundaries. Don't give an inch. They'll take a mile. Literally. Don't give an inch. They will take 100 miles. They're not going to stop. They don't stop. And if you do set a boundary and they treat it like a challenge, be prepared for things to be kind of chaotic, things to be messy, for them to literally throw you under the bus in front of your own family, in front of other people. They love doing that. They love dissing you in public. It gives them a rise. It gives them narcissistic supply. You are so much better than all of this. You deserve so much better. I want better for you. I hope this helps. I hope you understand. It gives you a little insight into what goes on when you set a boundary, what to expect when you set a boundary, and the importance of setting boundaries. Because when you give away your power, that resentment is going to build up. It's not good for your body. It's not good for you. That stress is not good for your health. I wish you the best. May you set healthy boundaries, and may you find peace every day. Thanks for listening.